welcome to this social function. This function is in appreciation of a very important function that took place yesterday, which saw the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between the African Union Commission and the Global Network for Rice and Development, in short GNRD. Just for the information of those that were not with us yesterday, GNRD is an international non-governmental organization focusing in areas of human rights and development, with headquarters in Norway, but with offices also in Geneva and also accredited to the Human Rights Council, with the office also in Brussels, another office that is accredited to the European Union in Brussels, with an office in Vienna, Austria, with an office in Jordan, in Amman to be particular, with another office in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And the journey therefore continues, and GNRD now is on the continent, and this is a step that has been planned for a long time. It's not my time to talk and explain in details, but I think this function is meant to just highlight the importance of this Memorandum of Understanding, and it will be my pleasure to invite the two principal actors this evening. In particular, I have with me Dr. Hassan Musa, who is a member of the Board of Directors of GNRD, and Dr. Jinmi Adisa, whose name or face to some of you is not new. If you have not seen the face, at least you have heard the name. If you have not heard the name, at least you have seen the face.
And the work.
And the work too, yes. And our focus, I think, is to introduce first and foremost the Vice President of the Global Network for Rice and Development, who is with us here also. He was the one who appended the signature on behalf of the President, Dr. Loyi, Mr. Abozer, Aumana, on my immediate right here, just for your information. Allow me to, I think, let me invite the host in terms of the geography, Dr. Adisa, just to say a statement on this. Dr. Adisa.
Thank you very much. I don't have much to say because we said a lot yesterday. There was a ceremony in the AU in which we all made prepared statements, and the hall at that time was full, quite fuller than it is now. But what I want to say is that it's not all the time in life that you see an organization with African origins being international. And one of the things that while Chilenge was talking is that GNRD is also registered in Sudan. And it's an organization of...
Our first registration in
Yes,
Sudan.
yes, it's the first registration in Sudan. So this is an organization with Afro-Arab origins, which has now spread internationally with offices in Norway, has been in Brussels. I first became associated with them through this Africa-Europe process, and then it's a very strong organization, very credible, and I think it's an organization that the AU could do a lot with, because one of the things our people said that it's not that we are going to organize civil society. No, that's not our job. We are going to, civil society will organize itself, and we will cooperate with civil society to ensure that we sensitize them to the needs of the African Union, and they sensitize us to the needs of civil society. So it's a partnership in the real proper sense. Now, the problem with the partnership is that most of the time, you have one person weak, one person strong, And even marriages are like that, you know. It is the balance. But so, you know, when you first start, it's a lopsided relationship. My mother used to tell me, as I said in process, that don't marry somebody you love more than somebody who loves you. That is the best way for you to live something. Let the balance be on your side in the beginning. It will even out in the end. But so, when I see an organization like GNRD that is strong, vibrant, capable, you know, it makes me very happy to cooperate with them. Of course, one of the beings of African society is that when we find things like that, we also find African societies are fratricidial. You find other elements saying this is wrong, that is wrong. There will always be something wrong. There are things wrong with the AU as there are things wrong with Africa. But that does not mean something is wrong with us as Africans. And it is in this spirit that I want us to grow with this collaboration, strengthen it, have a programmatic framework, joint programs of action, and not only between us and GNRD, let's bring in the outer civil society. This is my hope and the spirit with which you signed the memorandum. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adisa. It's my honor now to invite Dr. Hassan Musa, a member of the Board of Directors of GNRD, to give his brief statement in order to allow us space to interact and play with those glasses. Dr. Musa.
Thank you. I have a statement, but I think the statement is outside, so everyone here can read it. So therefore, let me speak to you. It's really, for me, a big chance and honor to be here with you. I am an African Arab who lives in Austria for more than 35 years. And it was really happy. I was happy and it was honored to be yesterday to the first time in Addis Ababa and in this huge building, in this AU mission. And it was a moment for me, I don't know how I can explain it now, but I don't want to use this, political issues, all of this, everything for them is historical moment, historical. So, but for me it was. And I have really a feeling, which I haven't before, when I saw yesterday the leaders of Africa. And for me, one who comes from Egypt, when I see yesterday the build of President Nasser and the greatest African leaders together, I think this feeling I haven't so much before, maybe when I was getting my master or my doctor. But yesterday it was for me a newborn. And in this case, I want to thank a man who was doing this possible. Please thank with me this gentleman who was doing this possible, Mr. Adisa. So thank you. And I want from here also to say to him, you are doing a great job with the African diaspora. We are so much, and we are strong enough in all of Europe. We have in Austria, as example, our own radio, Voice of Africa. We have our newspaper there. There are many African guys who are in a leader position in Austria. So we will cooperate and we will give our experience in our Africa. And therefore was this step from GNRD. As our High Commissioner for Africa, Dr. Shilingi, was saying, we have many offices in Europe, and this is the first step to work here in Africa with AUC, and we will have this opportunity to do something. And let me also to express the greeting from our president. He's not here because he's also in other mission, Dr. Laidib. Once more, thank you for all. And also, I want to thank our board member who comes for this occasion. And I want to thank my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Abozer. Please, Abozer, because Abozer, he was doing a lot, because our first office was in Sudan, and Abozer and I was doing a lot because they was both of them the founder of this organization. We thank the both of them, and also I would like to thank Mr. Shilingi, and as I told you before, we have known him as High Commissioner for Africa, and he will be our voice in Africa. And I think everyone here knows this person and his great effort. Also, I want to thank my colleague Dr. Shauki, where is Shauki, who comes to us from Palestine, and you can imagine how he's suffering to come here because the Iranian and the borders, and I don't know what's all. It's not easy to be here. Also, Dr. Ali Al-Ananza, please. Professor Al-Ananza, he's professor in the Jordanian University, and our colleague, Herr Magda Qaoud, he's attorney at law from Egypt. All of them, and also we have a colleague, she went yesterday. All the board member was here in this occasion, because it was for us an important occasion. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank my colleague and those people who was doing this possible. Once more, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, and thank you also to my colleagues from civil society that are with us here, that you have a newborn baby amongst you, and therefore we shall look up to you for that parental guidance on how to walk, on how to walk in Ethiopia and trade through those thorns and threads. And also I think to thank staff from CIDO, in particular my colleague Mr. Froba and Ahmed Bashir. They were actually at the center of the movement to facilitate this signing ceremony. And also to thank the Sudanese embassy for their support in this process. And also through you, the media, I think to thank also the government and the people of Ethiopia, in particular Minister Shemeles. When I called him that we have a function, and he says no problem, our role is to bond together civil society and state actors. I will make available that the media is and that it is here. Please express our gratitude to him through you and everybody who is here. It is time. We have enough drinks. We have enough to eat. There is nothing to rush. Our function goes. The fewer we are, the more glasses. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
We are very glad that we have signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the African Union Commission, the headquarters in Addis Ababa, Friday, 13th of December. This MOU built on a network of work in the field of our interest in human rights and development. As long as we finish this signing, now we are planning to establish a new office here in Addis Ababa to serve all African countries, and we have a plan for many countries. Also, I would like to add that we now nominated High Commissioner for Human Rights, GNRD, High Commission of Human Rights will be here. Dr. Shilingi will be a High Commissioner. After signing, we have met many colleagues in international NGOs, beside all directors of AUC, African Union Commission. We agree to go in this plan together, their plan and our plan, in a strategic plan for 5 years. Now everything is ready. Next day we are very next day we have organized a reception for all the concerned people in Commission in Addis Ababa and international NGOs, besides civil society and political affairs in African countries. In the reception, also we have connected with many people concerned, shared us fields that we are going to work in. And from this moment, we can say that Africa has a very strong partner, global network for us in our offices in Middle East and in Europe and elsewhere. We are going to facilitate for African civil society, NGOs, and official body to get their chances to deal with the other places where our offices there. So this is bright future for human rights and unity in Africa and all over the world.
After signing MOU between GNRD and AU, GNRD held a reception in Sheraton Addis Ababa. And after that we asked public figure about their vision about GNRD and what is their expectation about GNRD working in Addis Ababa, and what's their advice to our new office in Addis Ababa. And here is their answers.
After looking into the profile of GNRD, according to the areas that we are going to work together, I see the civil engagement, the civil society engagement is one of the major areas, which I think will have a lot of work to do. And as you know, we are facing many conflicts, armed conflicts, reconstruction, post-conflict reconstruction in Africa, the engagement of the diaspora also, and when we come to social and economic development of the continent. So these are the areas I see that will be having a lot of support, exchanging ideas, even generating information. And when we come to the chapter of good governance, it's one of the challenges we are facing in Africa. So these are the areas I see as potential to cooperate and work together between the GNRD and the African Union. What I would advise really to GNRD, and I see, to me GNRD is not a newly born baby. I see GNRD as a giant because we have some experience in working in other countries outside Norway, where the headquarters is. So you have branches all over, and for the strengthening of the relationship between GNRD and the African Union Commission, we really need to be based in Addis Ababa, and for that I think it's really necessary, and you should quickly open an office in Addis Ababa, because when we come to cooperation between the GNRD and Africa, I would say the work would not be only based on one institution. I'm talking about the African Union Commission. As you know, that Addis Ababa is one of the diplomatic centers in Africa. This is where you also extend your helping hand to other organizations, even in terms of global planning. If there is any humanitarian crisis, you need to share ideas, you need to share experiences with other organizations. Talking about embassies that know the situation on the ground. So it's very important to be based in Addis. And my advice would be really, if you want to see the fruits from this cooperation between us, you really need to have some people based here in Addis, and from time to time to have other specialized persons coming from other branches where GNRD established offices.
Well, GNRD it's an organization that started from Africa and now has an international coloring. It has offices in different parts of the world. I think that GNRD should try to grow in the structure of the biggest international organizations in the world, like Ford Foundation, like Oxfam, that would be the African Oxfam, the African Ford Foundation, and then work with other NGOs to really move the agenda of integration and development in Africa, to help our people, to help our governance system, to help our electoral processes, to help us entrench human rights and justice all throughout the continent. So I think GNRD has a role to play. It is well resourced. It is already an international organization. It has grown very well. It has adequate staff. It has a lot to have met all the leadership, Mr. Luher, Mr. Abozer. These are people who are committed to the development of the continent. So I think the sky is the limit for GNRD. Once its programs are solid and they continue to work in the spirit in which they have started. I think it should be a liaison office with the AU. So it should work closely with the AU, mostly through CIDO, but with other departments also. So it should establish programs, they should work together. It should help. The AU is conceived as a people-centered organization, which involves all the people. So GNRD has a very unique role to play as a civil society organization in harnessing the work of the people with the AU, in sensitizing them to AU's requirements, in playing a vital role in the AU development and visionary agenda, and in helping other NGOs within the continent to work together with the AU for this constructive purpose. So I think once the liaison office is established, it should work concretely, constructively, progressively, steadily, and inexorably with the AU to fulfill its objectives in the continent.
I think the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the African Union Commission and the European Union Commission is a very important milestone. Not only to GNRD, but I think to Africa, and also to African Union Commission and the African Union with its institutions. GNRD has a lot of experience in ensuring that they promote human rights, that they enhance development. And I think their intervention has been waited for a long time by the African people. And it is the right time that now the MOU has officially been signed. But the signing of the MOU is just the starting point. I think the journey is long and the journey has just started. From the Commission side, I'm talking about the High Commission of GNRD on Africa, I think the challenges are even more surmountable because the expectation both from the African people, the African government, and the African Union and the African Union Commission and other stakeholders are very high. There is a lot of expectation in terms of what experience GNRD will bring, what strategies GNRD will bring. I think what is important is to ensure that GNRD intervention goes to fit into African Union strategic plan and the African Union Agenda 2063, which is a long-term agenda for Africa, which they are developing for themselves. But apart from that, I think it is important also to realize that Africa has just elaborated the Africa Human Rights Strategy, which they have heads of state and government adopted. They also have elaborated an African governance architecture. There is also the African humanitarian architecture. So all these frameworks are very critical and they fall within the mandate of GNRD, and so GNRD will not find it very difficult to cooperate and engage and support and work with the African Union Commission. So because the expectations are high, our immediate task now is to ensure that the host agreement between GNRD and the government of Ethiopia is finalized in the shortest period of time, because it is only that host agreement that will now enable us to open our liaison office here and begin to interact and ensure our presence here. Secondly, I think it's also important to understand that Africa while it's a continent that is very rich in terms of natural resources, we have challenges in managing these resources for the benefit of the people. And you find that the majority of the African population are still wallowing in abject poverty. And I think an intervention in ensuring that Africa is supported in managing its own natural resources for its development shall become a key strategic intervention for GNRD, and also ensuring that we help to support in building the capacity of African civil society organizations and NGOs to enhance their capacity to engage with the African Union and other multilateral institutions like the UN Human Rights Council and so forth, are very critical intervention in the short term and medium term. Secondly, I think, and also most critical, is to ensure that the human rights and development agenda becomes the major focus of the African continent, because development is a human rights issue, and human rights issues are development issues, and for that reason, therefore, human rights and other things become so critical. So we have this critical intervention that should become part of the GNRD's priorities in the context of our intervention. Africa is a country that is moving and trying to realize its objective. But at the same time, to begin, it needs critical partners like GNRD. And GNRD's operations on all continents of the globe gives it a comparative advantage in terms of mobilizing both human resource and other logistics to support the African Union Commission in supporting the member states of the African Union to realize this. And another important thing, I think, for which GNRD has sufficient experience and sufficient is the issue of election management. Election management in Africa have been the critical triggering event for conflicts. And therefore, holding of credible and fair and acceptable elections is an important driver of change in Africa to ensure people's prosperity and peace is realized. And GNRD has been participating in various election monitoring processes and also building the capacities of other states and other actors in terms of ensuring that you have a space for credible elections. This is another important, I think, intervention that GNRD and African Union Commission will find it a very good common working ground to realize this aspect. Finally, you may be aware that more than 50% of displaced populations in the world are in Africa. We are talking about refugees and internally displaced persons. These are a critical part of the overall African resource base, productive resource base, but they become unproductive as a result of them being displaced. Finding durable solutions to such problems in terms of protection and assistance will also be critical in this regard. But not only that, but also you know that Africa's population is young. You know, more than 60% of the population in Africa is youth, but the majority of them are unemployed. They have challenges in accessing education. So these are other critical and I think priority areas on how to support Africa to ensure that its population, its young population, is educated, its young population becomes productive, that its young population lives longer so that they can contribute to prosperity and development in Africa. Of course, in close collaboration with other international actors and other intergovernmental institutions such as the European Union, the Arab League, and so forth?
Our priorities for Africa currently at the African Union, we've looked at all the issues that we are looking at. As you know, we are now celebrating or marking 50 years of African unity. And one of the first things we've done is to review what our priorities are currently, what we've achieved so far, and where we're going. We've come up with 6 key priorities. The first thing we want to focus on is education. Look at the quality of education and prepare all the people of Africa for the trends going forward so they become active participants in the global arena. The second area we would like to look at is promoting inter-African trade to ensure that there's capacity on the ground to remove all the barriers that inhibit trade on the continent. The third area we're looking at right now is infrastructure, to make sure that we can provide or enable our people to trade, to interact, to move freely, all the factors of production to be able to move around. So in terms of the infrastructure, the roads, the rail, air transport, and all that. The fourth area we're looking at is in looking and ensuring food security for the people of Africa. Okay? And the fifth area is governance. And in governance, I think there's a key area in which we can work with the civil society, the NGOs, to create more inclusiveness, good governance, to ensure there's greater accountability, the rule of law, ensuring that the people have the capacity to deliver for the current generation and the future generations. So these are the current things we're working on, and these are the priorities. We are very excited with this new chapter. The first thing is we are quite happy that GNRD is based in Africa, and their head office is in Khartoum. Not only that, they have offices across the global system. It's very exciting. We think GNRD should work with us, with the AU, to strengthen the role of civil society on the continent. We need to work to focus on the key priorities that I've outlined, education and the rest. But more importantly, one of the things that we're looking at right now is to develop an agenda for the next 50 years for Africa. And we need to work together, make it more inclusive, get as many people involved as possible, and have a very clear picture for the continent. And I think it's very important, with the experience we have globally, with the role and the reach with the people, that we can build this vision together.
Thank you. So, what's your advice to our new office that we going to establish in Addis Ababa after signing the MOU?
Again, we are quite happy that not only have you gone ahead to sign an agreement with us, an MOU, but you've put action to it. You've set up an office. This will have close relationship with us. We need to work closely together, get involved in what AU is doing in Addis Ababa, work closely with the NGOs that are working closely with us around the continent and based here. We need to move together, and let's have real activity on the continent. Let's have action and actual results.
Yeah, as I was saying, GNRD is a very big organization, a very nice one, and I think their role, as they've put in their mission, they are going to help Africa. They are going to help our development. We are going to develop, and when they assist us, when they come to Africa now, they are going to assist us, and we believe with their assistance, with their roles that they are going to perform as they are put in the mission. They are going to help African economic, African development, which we all hope, as they said. We're very happy as Africans to join them. Since we collaborate now, we believe we are going to have a very strong organization and a very strong relationship that is going to help us. Our expectation and the expectation, all that we expected from you, we believe you are going to give as you put in your mission, and we believe that when you are doing that, all our own expectations too will be fulfilled, and we're happy to have you, and we believe you are going to help us. You are going to do something, and it's a very nice organization to network and to put an end to suffering and an end to poverty, to help our youth, because our youth in Africa, we know that we have problems when it comes to youth. So we know you are going to help us as a youth. I'm speaking as a youth, that you are going to help us as youth. You are going to develop us, and by developing the youth, you are developing the country.
Let me start by saying that the African Union is a very legitimate body that we should work with to promote
rights and development in Africa. So we really welcome the step that you have taken to sign an MOU with the African Union. My advice would be that you move very quickly and establish a presence in Addis Ababa so that we can all together accompany the African Union in the objectives of providing rights and the basic rights and development to African citizens. I will insist on the fact that we should work closely with citizens, support citizens, the direct affected populations, to be able to raise their voice within the African Union. Today we are hearing a lot of rhetoric about Africa having the highest growth in the world. More African countries are showing a lot of growth, but those growths are not having a direct impact in the life of citizens. It is important that citizens feel that something really is happening. So for me, it's very important to support citizens so that they become active, they put pressure on the politicians so that the right decisions, the ones that are good for their life, for their development, for their emancipations, are the ones that are adopted within the African Union. So we strongly welcome your move to join the other organizations who are already operating. So there's a lot to do, and we're very happy to work together with your organizations in Addis Ababa. So congratulations for this moment.
Good evening, my name is GNRD AU. I work for Plan International, and it's an international NGO that is operational in 24 African countries and in many other countries across the world. We are focused on children. Our primary constituency is children. So wherever we work, children are the primary concern where we work. And I'd like to start by saying congratulations for joining the fold of organizations that are now interested in working with the African Union. As an organization, we think the African Union is a key institution to engage with, and it is important for the whole understanding of African development, because we think they have a critical role to play, and that's where we engage with them, and we're happy they join the fold of organizations that are engaging with the African Union. What should we be doing? My organization works with children. One of the key areas where we have a gap currently is North Africa. Post the Arab Springs in North Africa, there's been a whole lot of issues around children and young people in North Africa. We need to begin to galvanize and pull together, and I think that is one area that your organization can play a key and critical role. The whole range of issues from children's rights to rights and protection in the whole conflict and humanitarian issues going on in the various countries in North Africa. And I will be looking forward to close collaboration with your organization and how we can work in those areas. Secondly, more importantly, for us as an organization, we are very cautious of the fact that 60% of African population currently is made up of young people. And I'm happy that you are also interested in the issues around the youth. For us, presently, we're one of those organizations that bring the youth views, the youth voices, and the youth perspective to the African Union processes. And we would like to collaborate with you on that. And I think that's one of the other areas we want to see you doing a lot more work around. And thirdly, and finally, in a lot of engagement with the African Union, there's very limited civil society participation from the north of Africa. And we want to see you play a lead role in bringing a lot of other civil society actors from the northern region of Africa to engage with the African Union processes. And that will be my recommendations for you. With regards to your office here, what you need to do, well, welcome. Ethiopia is an interesting place to work in. It has its good sides, it also has its challenging sides. And one thing we can promise you is that we'll be there. Our doors are open. We know your colleague who will be the head of your mission in Africa, and we'll be happy to hold his hands and guide him through the various stages of getting your office established. And that will be our promise. Thank you very much.